In the forgotten kingdom of Thorn, shadows had a strange habit. They wandered. Not all the time and not very far, but just enough to make life interesting. A baker might discover his shadow sitting on the roof instead of beneath him. A fisherman could wake up and find his shadow waiting at the dock before he arrived. Nobody considered it dangerous. It was simply one of those odd things that happened in Thornmere. The kingdom itself was beautiful in an unusual way. Silver forests stretched across rolling hills, glowing mushrooms illuminated winding roads at night, and ancient stone towers stood abandoned among the valleys like forgotten chess pieces. Travellers often described Thornmere as mysterious, but the people who lived there simply called it home. Among them was a young courier named Rowan. Rowan's job was simple: deliver messages, avoid getting lost, and try not to ask too many questions. Unfortunately, Rowan was very bad at the third part. One evening, while delivering a package to an old watchtower deep in the forest, he noticed something unusual. A black raven sat beside the road holding a tiny golden key in its beak. The bird stared directly at him, dropped the key onto the path, and immediately flew away. Rowan picked up the key. Nothing happened. For about 3 seconds. Then the key began glowing. A faint golden trail appeared in the air ahead of him, twisting between the trees like a ribbon of light. Most people would have ignored it. Rowan followed it immediately. The glowing trail guided him deeper into the forest than he had ever travelled before. The trees grew taller, their silver leaves whispering softly overhead. Strange lantern flowers bloomed along the ground, opening whenever he walked past them. After nearly an hour, the trail ended at a massive stone door standing alone in the middle of a clearing. There were no walls, no building, just a door. Carved across its surface were hundreds of symbols that shimmered faintly beneath the moonlight. At the center was a keyhole. Rowan stared at the golden key in his hand. "This feels like the beginning of a bad decision," he said. Then he unlocked the door. The moment it opened, warm air rushed from the other side, carrying the scent of rain and wildflowers. Beyond the doorway stretched an enormous hidden valley that shouldn't have existed. Crystal rivers wound through dark hills. Floating lights drifted above the fields. Far in the distance stood a city illuminated by thousands of lanterns. Rowan stepped through. The door vanished behind him. "Definitely a bad decision," he muttered. The city was called Haven. It was unlike anywhere Rowan had ever seen. The buildings were built from black stone that reflected starlight like polished glass. Bridges curved between towers without visible support. Lanterns floated freely through the air, moving wherever they pleased. Yet the strangest thing was the people. Every resident carried a living shadow companion. These shadows didn't simply follow. They talked, laughed, argued, and occasionally offered terrible advice. Rowan watched one shadow attempting to convince its owner to buy 6 cakes for no apparent reason. The owner eventually agreed. Rowan suspected this happened often. While exploring the city, he met a clever thief named Lyra, who claimed she knew every secret hidden in Haven. She immediately proved this by correctly guessing where Rowan was from, why he had arrived, and what he ate for breakfast. Rowan decided not to ask how. Lyra explained that Haven existed between ordinary places, hidden from most maps and forgotten by nearly everyone outside the valley. According to local legend, the city protected an ancient treasure called the Heart of Midnight. a magical crystal said to preserve wonder itself. Nobody knew exactly what that meant, but it sounded important. The problem was that the Heart of Midnight had recently disappeared. Without it, strange things had begun happening throughout the valley. Lanterns drifted in circles for hours. Roads occasionally led to unexpected destinations. Entire gardens appeared overnight in random locations. While none of these events were particularly dangerous, they were becoming increasingly unpredictable. Rowan immediately volunteered to help find the missing crystal. Lyra informed him that volunteering for mysterious quests was generally considered a terrible habit. Then she joined anyway. Their search led them across the valley. They explored abandoned observatories where telescopes pointed towards stars that nobody else could see. They crossed forests filled with trees whose leaves glowed different colors depending on what stories were being told nearby. They sailed across a dark mirror lake where reflections occasionally waved before the real people did. Every clue pointed toward the same location, a forgotten castle hidden at the edge of the valley. The castle sat atop a hill surrounded by silver fog. The silver key shot across the platform and flew directly toward the final carriage of the Midnight Express, where it slipped neatly into a shining lock beside the door. With a soft click, the lock opened and a small plaque appeared beneath it. The plaque had not been there a moment earlier. Written in elegant silver letters were the words, "Reserved for Rowan." Rowan stared at it. "I don't remember making a reservation." The door swung open anyway. Curiosity won once again, and Rowan stepped aboard. Inside, the carriage looked far larger than it should have. Crystal chandeliers floated beneath a ceiling painted with moving stars. Long windows revealed impossible landscapes rolling past outside, even though the train hadn't left the station yet. One window showed a forest glowing beneath 3 moons. Another revealed a city floating upside down among clouds. A third displayed an ocean where ships sailed across the sky instead of water. Rowan settled into a seat and watched as the train slowly pulled away from the platform. The station faded behind them, swallowed by silver mist. Moments later, the scenery outside transformed completely. Mountains folded into clouds. Rivers became ribbons of light. Entire constellations drifted beside the train as though traveling in the same direction. The conductor eventually appeared. He was a tall gentleman wearing a dark blue coat decorated with tiny stars. His hat appeared to contain its own miniature galaxy. He examined Rowan's ticket, despite Rowan being fairly certain he had never received one. "First journey?" the conductor asked. Rowan nodded. "Where exactly are we going?" The conductor smiled. "To the place where lost possibilities go when people stop looking for them." Rowan immediately had more questions than answers. The conductor seemed pleased by this. Several hours later, the train arrived at a breathtaking destination called the Valley of Forgotten Tomorrows. The valley stretched endlessly beneath a sky filled with glowing clouds shaped like castles, ships, and strange inventions. Floating islands drifted overhead, carrying abandoned dreams and unfinished ideas. Rowan saw giant tree houses suspended from balloons, mechanical dragons made entirely of brass, and bridges that connected places which didn't appear to exist anymore. Everywhere he looked were possibilities that someone had once imagined but never completed. The conductor explained that every time a person abandoned a dream, forgot an idea, or decided something was impossible. A small piece of that possibility drifted into the valley. Over centuries, the place had become one of the most unusual realms in existence. Rowan wandered through fields where half-finished inventions gently hummed beneath crystal flowers. He crossed a river flowing with glowing paper boats carrying unfinished stories. He even discovered an entire village built from ideas for books that had never been written. Each house contained characters patiently waiting for their adventures to begin. While exploring, Rowan noticed something strange. Parts of the valley were slowly fading. Colors seemed dimmer in certain areas. Buildings flickered briefly before becoming solid again. Even some floating islands appeared less stable than they should. Concerned, he asked the conductor what was happening. The conductor's cheerful expression softened slightly. He explained that fewer people were dreaming big adventures, imagining impossible discoveries, or creating wonderful stories than before. Without fresh possibilities arriving, parts of the valley were growing weaker. Rowan looked across the endless landscape and felt determined to help somehow. Then he remembered something. Back in Nocthaven, he had been given one of the magical journals from the City of Lost Wonders. The journal could record adventures, ideas, and discoveries unlike any ordinary book. Rowan opened it and began writing everything he had experienced since finding the first golden key. As his pen moved across the page, something extraordinary happened. New lights appeared across the valley. Floating islands brightened. Crystal flowers bloomed. Forgotten inventions sparked gently back to life. Other travelers aboard the Midnight Express noticed as well, and began sharing their own stories, sketches, songs, and ideas. The valley responded immediately. Colors deepened, rivers shimmered. Entire new sections of landscape appeared on distant horizons. The conductor laughed with delight. "That's it," he said. "Possibilities grow when people believe in them." For days, travelers filled journals, painted pictures, invented curious machines, and told fantastic stories. The Valley of Forgotten Tomorrows grew brighter than it had been in generations. Eventually, it was time for Rowan to leave. The Midnight Express returned to the station, preparing for another journey across impossible destinations. Before boarding, the conductor handed Rowan a small silver compass.